Hi, and welcome to Coach's Corner, where systems matter and both personal and professional learning and development is beneficial for everyone and essential for some. As always, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, we're back with Brett Zandis, or better known as Coach Little Z23. And with today's topic is actually knowing thyself, or knowing oneself, knowing yourself. And actually, no one better to learn it from, in my opinion, than this man right here. The amount of people that he's helped to know themselves is pretty incredible, which is why he calls it the incredible individual. I can remember the multiple times that we've talked about it, just knowing myself and having to, go through those trials and tribulations, as, father and son, but also as athlete, coach, or, the different people he's got to do it with his mom, his fellow employees. I mean, what he's done here is impressive because it makes it very simple to learn and to do, to know yourself. But it is difficult, right? I mean, you're going to have to, look at the mirror and, and see the blemishes that no one wants to see and the specks of dust where they fall. So, before we get started and go into that, is there anything you would like to say?
Well, as lovers, too.
Yeah.
You're looking pretty good in that shirt.
Thank you.
Fake silk.
Fake silk.
The filk shirt. So, we've talked about how do all these things come together over 20 or 25 years. And this is one that was part of our leadership program. And so we call it layered leadership. And so we say, start with yourself, right? And know thyself. And we count the whole thing as you being an incredible individual.
Right.
So you start with yourself, and then we teach them the holistic system, and then we teach them the individual system. So then that's, like one unit. And then we say no others, right? And so we call that being, like a partner or buddy system. So it'd be just you and one other.
Okay.
Right. And then we go into the third part of that, which is as a group or as a team, depending on what you want to call it, whether it's personal or professional. So we do this with, people personally. We also do it with corporations and companies and businesses. So we could do it with parents or groups,
Yes.
all the way through. And then we go out a little bit further and we say, how does this work as in the bigger picture of being, a community member? But I think what we're going to talk about today is how to be an incredible individual. And that starts with knowing thyself. And then I think we'll talk probably about a couple systems that we kind of clump that together.
Yeah.
And I think, if we've talked about this many a time, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it systemic and same, similar patterns and stuff. So right now, at this moment in time, St. Patrick's Day 2021, we're a collection of, right?
Yes.
So you're a collection of your DNA/genetics, you're a collection of your environment, and then you're a collection of circumstances and experiences. And I like to say experiences happen regularly, and then circumstances are here, there, or whatever.
Right.
Some of you gets hit by they don't always have to be negative, but usually they, are, something that's a kind of a one and done, or, a cathartic moment, or different things of that nature.
Yeah.
And so that's where we start with people. We say, just like what we do with kids when we're teaching them, we ask them, what do they already know? We call it prior knowledge. What do you already know about baseball?
Yeah.
And they go, blah, 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 blah. And then, as I've said before, we've already played King and Queen of the World. So if they say, well, you use a bat, you run around the bases, da-da-da, and I, want to talk about home runs, grand slams, and singles, I would say, well, what about, right? We go through all of that. And so I think being an incredible individual is difficult sometimes. But I think if you can systematize it, it makes it so simple. It makes it easy. It makes it a lot less difficult. How about that?
Right. Gotcha. So, you kind of explained what knowing thyself is.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's difficult for people to really know themselves? Why do you think people know themselves but really don't know or why do you think people think they know themselves, but then when you really get down into it, they really don't know themselves?
Well, think about it, right? So, let's talk about, young kids, right? So let's say like maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, so enough about life to know you have a pimple on your face and that people are going to judge you. right? So when you're 3 and 4, if you think about in the Bible, they say, act like a kid.
Yeah.
Because you don't care if you have a pimple on your face. You got dirt in your mouth. You're running around. You're doing all that. And so, do you really need to know yourself when you're young? No, because you're just doing and being and whatevering, But as you get older, you start to realize, like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, if I'm really this way, if I'm knowing myself in this way, and that's extremely negative, then most people don't want to admit that, let alone do the work into it. We've talked about patterns of change and different things of that nature.
Yeah.
So what do? They go, I'm not an alcoholic, right? I mean, I've talked to my friends before, and I'm like, dude, you're an alcoholic. And they're like, no, I'm not. And I said, dude, there's several types of alcoholics. There's a person that drinks maybe once, a month. But once they start drinking, they can't stop until they're plastered on the ground. Yeah. Well, who wants to admit that?
Right.
Who wants to admit? I mean, I don't want to admit that I'm getting my butt kicked on overeating.
Right.
I don't want to admit that. Right? I mean, I've been successful at almost everything in my whole life I've beat. And I cannot figure this out to this point. Now, I will figure it out, but to this point. Well, who wants to say that to themselves, let alone to, the 3 views we're getting on YouTube, right? So what happens is that we play tricks and we start to suppress these things about who we are, or we inflate, like you were saying. You and I, we used to watch American Idol, the family. Yeah. And those people would get on there and can't sing a lick. Like, I can sing better than you and I can't sing a lick. And they really thought they were good. And you're like, wow. So I think there's the extremes of not admitting, of who you are and knowing yourself, and then thinking that you're all that in a bag of rocks or chips, as my mom always says, a bag of rocks, which we laugh at. And so I think it's usually people on the poles on that. And I play it right down the middle. I'm like, this is who I am. I am flawed. I already know that I'm done because the Bible's told me I'm done. And so then why am I, I have a lot of opinions, but I don't judge anybody else. Who am I to judge? I'm dung. That's crap. Yeah. In case anybody know what dung is, right? So if I'm crap, how am I going to judge somebody else? Oh, well, you're crap too, but your crap smells better than my crap. It's perfumey. Right. Is that a word? Perfumey? Yeah. Crap. And so I think it's usually the polls on why people either don't know themselves or think they know themselves and they really don't, because who would want to admit that they're getting their butt kicked? Yeah. I don't. Right. And I'm ultra competitive. But even if you're not ultra competitive, you don't want to admit your downfalls or the things that you're bad at. Who wants to come out and say, hi, I'm Jim, I'm a child molester, or I have a porn addiction, or whatever. Right. And it's bad enough if it's only, hurting you. Yeah. But if it's also hurting others, like my eating doesn't per se hurt you, right? Now, if I don't get it straight and it takes my life earlier than I was supposed to go, then it could hurt you. Yeah. Or maybe you just get a bunch of money and you'll be happy. But, it really doesn't hurt you. But if I have a porn addiction that says I'm going to go cheat on my wife, well, that hurts her and it hurts the whole family. Because probably there's going to be a divorce. And, it goes on and on. And that's why I always like to say, what's going to happen, 19 ripples down the road when the pebble hits? So as my 23-year-old son, when he does a gainer off of, you're like, you thought I was off of that. I'm not, right?
Off a small house.
I don't care, right? Was it a dog house? No, it was an actual house. It was a small house. But anyway, so I think that people just don't want to face it. And I'm okay with facing it, both the good things I do and the bad things. But, I don't care what that person says about me. I'm already my worst critic. Yeah. So if you want to call me a donkey or a jackass or whatever, I'm like, whatever. As long as you're not calling my wife or kids that, then, or my peeps, which is a bunch, 47 million or whatever, But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So why do you think, what is the benefits from knowing yourself like you do?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's that you're able to make choice, and choice is to me the biggest thing ever.
Okay.
So if I say, "Hi, I'm an alcoholic,"
Yeah.
or "Hi, I'm a great basketball player," I mean, it can be good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Or it can be in between. "Hey, I'm a mediocre singer,"
Mhm.
whatever it is. I think it allows you to make decisions or choice on what do you want to do about that,
Okay.
right? So, uh, I cuss like a sailor. Nobody would know that I'm here because I try to keep it down, and it's something that I would like to be able to beat, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that just because that I do that, if I don't admit that,
Mhm.
then I have zero chance to make a choice, patterns of change,
Yeah.
to beat it.
Right.
So if I know and I'm self-aware of both my shortcomings or my downfalls, as well as my strengths and positives, then either way, or even something in the middle, but that's not usually where I play.
Yeah.
I usually play on the ends, and I'll say, based off of that, I can make a decision. Do I want to do something about it? Well, it's obvious I can do something about it because I don't say many curse words for YouTube or the audio podcast or whatever.
Right.
I never cussed with the young kids when I was teaching and coaching in the classroom, right?
Yeah.
Now the older kids,
Yeah, you lay with.
yeah, because you can get away with it because they're cussing more than you are, or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. But I also have talked about that just on a side note. Whoever invented that, mother effer is the worst word in the history of the world. Could have been light bulb just as easy. So, but anyway, you know how I feel about that. But yeah, I don't want to get off topic, but I think that those are the things that are critically important. It gives you an outlet and a choice, either direction, to either do something about it or not.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to what I would call asking the questions about yourself, right? Because you have to question. I think maybe you'll tell me different. What you're doing and why you're doing it, and that's who you are. Is that correct?
Yeah, because we don't. I mean, if you really think about it, most people are either on one side or the other.
Mhm.
They're the American Idol person who can't freaking sing a
Yeah.
lick and think they're Carrie Underwood or whatever, right? Or you get the Carrie Underwoods that were so humble and like really like I have a gift. Like we're watching the new season of American Idol.
Yeah.
I told you I don't watch TV other than
Yeah.
when I sit down with my wife, we have dinner, and she likes to watch these programs.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're watching that, and some of these people are like angels, dude.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the judges, and the judges are like, I've never heard anything like that. Well, if Lionel Richie tells you,
Yeah.
like you're amazing, he probably been around a few angelic singers, and they don't even know because they're so humble.
Yeah.
And so, well, who usually wins that battle? Is it the arrogant person that is completely wrong about how great they are and they really suck?
Yeah.
And who likes those people?
Right.
Do you want to hang around anybody like that?
No.
No, I want to hang around the talented person
Yeah.
that brings tears to your eyes and they're humble. They don't even know how great they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to be able to hang around.
Yes, absolutely. And so when you ask these questions, do you want to be doing those one-on-one with someone you trust, with someone you don't know? Who would you go to, or how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I say start with yourself first, ask the questions.
Okay.
Who am I, right? And I do it in a very systemic way.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring in the holistic system, which I know we'll talk about in
Yeah.
a little bit, but we'll talk about, spiritual, religious, family, friends, personal, social, career, material. I'll look at it in the individual system, mindset, getting organized, so on and so forth. I'll look at it based off of my goals. I'll look at it based off of my attitude. I'll look at it based off, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I deem and am able to look at holistically, that's what I'm going to do is ask those questions. How do I feel about it? It's kind of like the thoughtful advancement thing, right?
Yeah.
So here's the data. Well, how do I feel about it? I just yelled at that guy because he cut out in front of me. Well, how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's a dichotomy sometimes. Well, I feel good because I try to teach him a lesson so he wouldn't kill somebody else or kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But you feel bad because maybe my approach wasn't that great. And so, as I've said before, I don't care if you yell at me. I don't care if you yell, scream, cuss, whatever. I listen to the message, not the delivery.
Right.
Right? I get all that madness out of the way, and I go, what are you really saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you're saying something that's great and smart and whatever, I want to listen to it. Doesn't mean I always apply it, but at least I'll listen to it.
Yeah.
And so I think that, when you talk about those types of things, that you start with yourself first, question. Then you go ask one person, whoever you feel could, that'll be straight up with you, that'll be straightforward, that's intelligent, that, knows you well, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think you would open it up to, another group of 3 to 5 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to be very vulnerable, you could ask 7, 10, 12, 14 strangers, not true strangers. They'd have to know you and get their input, because sometimes, as you would know, you're so close to yourself, you're like, maybe I'm missing a few things, or your mom or whatever. They talk about that with weight loss.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I lost 20 pounds, and your wife doesn't even recognize you. She's with you every day. You go see a buddy you haven't seen in too much. Like, dang, dude.
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, where'd you go? Where'd your baby go?
Right. Yeah, that's funny. And so when it goes from, you talking to yourself, and then you go to someone that you trust, so I'm assuming that it's not always the first one, right? Like, meaning like, hey, I'm an alcoholic. It's usually something above there, or they say something above there, and then it gets to the real meat of it, right?
Well, it depends. It depends how well they know you. It depends how well you know yourself. I mean, the way I would explain that is you have the weed.
Yeah.
Right, and then but you have the root.
Right.
Right, and then you may have some stuff around the weed.
Yeah.
Nut grass or whatever. You know what I mean? And so what you're talking about is sometimes you get to the root, which is where you want to always be. Mm-hmm. But remember, it's not a singular root.
Right.
Right. So you may be an alcoholic, a porn addict. You may be able to sing like an angel. Right. All the positives, all the negatives, and then some of the in-betweens.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you and I've talked about a million times, I would talk about your guys' C's, but mainly I want to talk about your A's, or for you in the pole vault. Let's go get points there. You're already going to lap the field. Mm-hmm. And that's why I still laugh about it. I could say it 100 times. They wouldn't even know you were in the race, right? Until the 7th event. And then all of a sudden, you would launch yourself into 3rd or 4th place. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the 1500, you won. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. It just tickled me, because I'm like, you guys aren't even thinking about this kid. He's going to come up and wax you. Right? It's the little guy, the little guy looks like he can't fight. He knocks you out, so to speak. But I think it's, I think a lot of times that's what we do is we chop the top of the weed, but we don't get to the root. And until you get to the root of whatever those are, whatever the continuum is, your worst, most negative thing, or your positive, or anywhere in between, then I think that it becomes, a facade, which anytime, you're in a facade land, that American Idol singer that thinks they can sing and they can't, you're in big trouble, because you have to uncover all of that to get to, hi, I can't sing.
Right.
So that's why I say the people that go, hi, I can't sing, we don't need to uncover anything else.
Right.
You're at the root of the problem. Now you may have to go deeper to say, why is that? Mm-hmm. Right? So like me, we're talking about weight today, me being fat, PHAT. Why is that? Because I don't like waste. Mm-hmm. Why don't I like waste? Because I was a heck of an athletic kid, but I wasn't big enough at the time. But somebody should have grabbed me and said, dude, you're going to be phenomenal when you get bigger. I mean, unless you stay 4'1" the rest of your life, because you're fast, you're a hard head, you're strong as heck, you got hops, right? They should have grabbed me. Yeah. Nobody did that. So they wasted my talent. That's why I'm on a mission to make sure nobody else gets wasted. But where does that hurt? So there's the positive. Yeah. So you can take the same thing. What's the negative? I'll eat every doggone thing on my plate, and even stuff from leftovers. I don't even like that crap. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to waste the food. Right. So that's where I've got to learn. So it's not like I can't beat it, but I got to beat the root of the problem, which is not just, I'm kind of feeling hungry. It's a psychological part of it. And that's where it becomes extremely difficult. I know it, but I still don't beat it. Well, at least I know it. Right. At least I'm not like, I do think I'm kind of muscular, but You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that there's some, I guess, tests, for lack of better words, that you do to help them. And one of them is draw a picture of yourself.
Yeah. So let's talk about that really quick, though. So you kind of just have the informal stuff that people are thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're good at this, they're not good at this, they're da-da-da-da, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then we kind of take it a little bit to the what I call the formal, which is those questions and some of this, whatever. Then I take it to the clinical, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, the drawing the picture isn't super clinical. But there's other tests, like they do the aptitude test for your career and stuff. That's what I call clinical. Like they've developed these tests to tell you exactly what's going on. I would say in the medical profession, but they seem to screw that up regularly. But you get my point, right? So, we didn't really talk about the informal, but I want to be clear on that. Just thoughts, thinking, whatever. Then we get formal, start questioning. Ask my buddy, ask my next buddy, ask my, go up to a complete stranger. Hey, what do you think about me? They're like, I don't even know you. But I like your hat, right? Praise Phil. So when you talk about the clinical parts, we used to do this, and it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter how you draw. Like people think, I got to be an artist and all this. And what you do is you give them the command of what they're going to do, but you tell them up front, I will not repeat it. So whatever you think that you hear me say, that's what you'll need to do.
Right. So
as you know, I've done it with you guys. I'll say you need to draw a picture of yourself. Mm-hmm. But I let them know it doesn't matter whether you're an artist or beforehand. But once I say it's like a closing question, that's it. And then what they do is they draw pictures.
Right.
And so what we're able to do from that is to, whether you're a kindergartner or whether you're 80-year-old person, your subconscious goes to work. Mm-hmm. And so do you want me to elaborate on that a little bit? Or?
That's up to you totally, 100%.
Yeah, I'd like to do it, Pete. That'd be cool, like in the comments. But I'll kind of tell you about it. So let's say you draw a stick figure, and you only draw half of your body. Mm-hmm. So, and let's say that you don't have, you draw, let's say you have longer hair. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter short or long, but you don't draw ears. Well, that means you're probably not an auditory learner.
Right.
Because you don't have ears.
Yeah.
What do your eyes look like? Are they big and vivacious and whatever? That may mean that you're a visual learner.
Yeah.
If you have your, no hands or your hands behind your back, some people do like this, or one hand, that means you don't like to be touched, right? And you're like that, you don't like, I like messing with you, and I get away with it now, but you didn't like that, right? Especially, I think you like the needles. We'll talk about that at another time. But, so we would be able to glean a lot. So everybody at first is like nervous. Yeah. I'm like, would anybody like me to share out? And I just go spot on to it.
Right.
On, and I go, is that all correct? And they're like, or, you're detailed because they do emblems and stuff. So there's all these 10, 20, 30 things that you can decipher from the one picture.
Right.
And, people that draw half themselves, they don't feel like a complete person right now. Or maybe they draw themselves without feet. Well, what does that mean? Maybe they don't draw themselves with the ground. They don't feel grounded. There's a lot of just little nuances to that. But what it does is it starts to open their mind in a clinical way that says, I've never thought about that before. So, I should tell my wife, you don't listen, right? And then I found out about this thing. I'm like, hey, draw this picture. Yeah. So she draws the picture, and of course, no ears, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't listen, right? And so she was like, wow. And I go, it's okay. That's not how you learn.
Right.
So, like in the perfect world, probably there's 50% or more of the people that are visual learners. Mm-hmm. That's why I like Jesus to put up, the accountability formula. Because people need that visual stimulus. Yeah. Right. Whereas me, I'm an auditory learner. You and I both have photographic memories in a different way. Yeah. If I hear it and write it down, it's there forever.
Right.
If you look at it, it's there forever. It's just, it's the way that our family works. We have photographic memories in different ways. Yeah. So, but what happens is that you start getting nuances in a clinical way that are undeniable, Because how can you take this doggone picture, and you remember that the first time, you were probably in shock, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Or if you're real young, I think when I did it when you were real young, you didn't probably kind of get it, you know.
Yeah,
but as you got older, you're
I
like,
understand it.
and that's another thing, you can do it at different times, and maybe the person feels more complete. Yeah, like we were saying with the girl who got out, hey, I'm raped. She turns out to be, you know, the most beautiful thing ever.
Right.
So then if we ask her to draw a picture, then subconsciously she's going to do whatever. And again, doesn't matter what's a stick figure, doesn't matter if it's whatever. Yeah.
Draw yourself.
Hopefully most people don't draw a portrait. That becomes a little bit tough because, you know, a portrait of just your face or something like that, or your profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then sometimes people that are real creative, they don't draw like an actual human being stick figure. They'll do like a shield, and this will be something like art that they love, and this is this. And that's how they draw it. That becomes, you know, but then you know they're super creative.
Creative, right.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then a second one that you do is north, south, east, west.
Yeah.
And what is that?
You know, we say look across from the north, look across at the south, the east, the west, and then you'll know, because usually the north and the south, they'll get each other because they complete each other, as Jerry Maguire would say. So that means that me as a north with the west, sometimes I want to punch them in the face. Right. And with the east, I definitely want to punch them in the face because they're slow. Yeah. Right. They need to think about it. But, and I'll tell you more depending on what you ask me, but just put out a little bit. But it's what I tell people when we get to after Incredible Individual, when you start doing your buddy or your teammate thing. Yeah. We say, look, it's not personal, it's personality. Right. And that helps a lot of people. I mean, just by saying that one thing. Right. Because I'd say, look across from you. I said, they're either so diametrically opposed from you that you hate them. Right. Or they're so different from you, you love them, you're gravitated because it completes you. I said, now look at your own group. So there's 4 people in the north. Yeah. You guys will be on your highest highs together, but your lowest lows will be bad because you're too close to each other. Right. So 2 norths in the same room and they're bad, oh boy. Yeah. Right. But 2 norths when they're synergizing and going, woo. Right. Yeah, that's home run city, baby.
Yeah, and then I also remember that you were either going to be in northeast or northwest.
Yeah.
You're never going to be in north and south.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. You're never going to be, all in one. And the other thing is, look, here's the fact of the matter. You may be the most chilled, docile creature this side of the Mississippi. We'll call it Susan, your mom. Yes. And let's say she's a complete south. But in a car accident, right, she could become a leader like this. Yeah. Like, hey, you call 911. Right? I mean, so it's not like, but that's more the tendency of how you roll. Right. Unless there's, again, that circumstance that says I got to do something different. Yeah. Yeah.
And then another one that you do, I don't know, maybe you don't want to talk about this one, was the gift assessments.
Yeah. I love that one.
That's my favorite one, yeah.
Yeah, mine too. So we were in with, I don't know, I was attending the church deal, and they had this whole thing series, and part of it was spiritual gift assessment. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, people that know the Bible, I forget what it is, but 28 gifts of the Spirit. So the fruit of the Spirit everybody can have, love, joy, peace, kindness, but the gifts will be different. Right. So like what we talked about earlier, is that universal? Yeah. Or is that whatever? And so they brought in and you answered these questions. Yeah. And then it gave you a raw score. And then it was like, 18, I think 21 was the highest. So 18 in A. And then you'd go look at A and it'd say the gift of administration. Right. And then you'd have a definition and you'd read it. Mm-hmm. And then you'd go, oh, like that's me, right? And so what would happen is that, like, I know in my case, I'm usually off the charts on those tests one way or another. I'm either a 1 or a 21, right? And I had, the 3 or 4, leadership, wisdom, different things like that. And so, that's what you're great at. That's what you can bring to the table. Know thyself. Yeah. So, hey, I can bring this to the table. And so it starts to really narrow you to a point where you're like, huh, because, I didn't know all that. And then people that are either agnostic or atheist or, believe in other religions, we would just say, hey, if it says if you were to, if the question was, hey, if you were to build a church, we would just say, hey, if you were to build a building, right? So that way it wasn't offensive to anybody, because it would still give you the same results in the end.
Right.
Yeah, now you're going, whoa. Well, now what? If I'm the boss of the whole organization and I got 30 people and I know this guy's a visual learner, this guy's an auditory learner.
Yeah.
Not that I'd always play to that, but I'd try to do it all at once. So I'd always be on the board writing.
Right.
The auditory, we're going to do whatever. There's the kinesthetic learner.
Yeah.
So I would say, hey, kinesthetics, make sure you're fiddling with something.
Yeah.
Right? Are you partially that?
Yeah, or visual and kinesthetic.
Yeah, so right. So make sure, those are the people that are doodling.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are you doodling? Pay attention. No, they need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We used to say that in the classroom when we were teaching. Like, don't get mad at them, you idiot. They're listening just fine.
Yeah.
You need to understand the way that they learn.
Right.
Well, here's your gift. So now, if we need somebody as, an administrator, hey, Jill, we have this new project. So I want Jill, Bob, Fred, and Ethel, because as a team goes, as you well know, you want the leader, you want the da-da-da, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes it easier to understand. And then when you start, and not just themselves, remember,
right.
And then when you start talking about others, then it's not like such a bad deal. It's like, oh, well, that's just how Jill rolls.
Right.
Which, they shouldn't be upset with me because this is how I roll. I'm not going to be upset with them.
Right.
So it clears a lot of the air up pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's funny. And then, do you want to talk about the E and the O?
Yeah, that was actually part of that.
Okay.
So they would do the same things, only like 5 questions for each. And the E was, how are you energized?
Okay.
And then how are you organized? And then, they had it in a graph, so it was a square, and then it was a basic cross or, whatever in the middle. And then you just did, like back in the day, you do math and you'd go, okay, it was 42 and, 7, and you'd put the dot there, just like battleship or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it would explain how you were energized and how you were organized. And so that was the E and O. And then going across was, the people. I haven't done it for a while, so I might screw up, but like in this corner, you were task oriented and people, whatever.
Yeah.
Or over in this corner, you're more focused on the people. And I was interesting because I was off the chart as usual, and I was very task oriented, but I did it for the people. And everybody's like, dude, you got problems. I go, tell me about it. I'm freaking atypical. Watch the doggone Netflix.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a really cool. It's real simple, easy. Mm-hmm. The other one they did that you probably don't. I don't know if I did I'm sure I did, but it wasn't as formal. They said, "What are your passions?" Mm-hmm. And so it would say, children, marriages, right? They give you ideas around it,
right?
And then it was also there was your purpose and then your passion. Mm-hmm. And so when you started putting all this together, along with the drawing and what you already kind of thought about yourself, you either figured out really fast, like, I'm way off base of who you talked about, or I'm right in line, baby.
Right.
So either way, you win out of these things because it'll tell you who you are one way or another. Yeah. And there's no wiggle room out of it. Right. It's like, dude, you can't sing. Yeah. I'm sorry to tell you, but you can't sing a lick. Yeah. So, you sing all you want in the shower, but you ain't going to make a profession out of it.
Yeah. And then there's another one that you do, which is the last one we'll talk about, which is figuring out if you're a phlegmatic, sanguine, melancholic, and I forget the last one.
Sanguine, choleric.
That was when I said choleric.
And that runs similar lines to the north, south, east, west. And I don't remember... there was a book that came out. It was a Christian book, and they did this.
Oh, okay.
And I don't remember what book it was, but it was really cool because you could, teach off of it, and stuff. And so the cleric was the leader, right? The sanguine was kind of the used car salesman. Josh, his buddy Josh, sell ice decimals, or Malik. Yeah. Either one of those two fools, right? They're funny, they're goofy, they're that kind of person, and they would be over on the side. Okay. The phlegmatic, again, would be like the south. Chill. Yeah, my wife, I'm like, honey, do you have a heartbeat? Right? She just chill. And then you have the melancholic, which is not melancholy, like super talented, usually like in art. Yeah. God. But yeah, so yeah, somebody's super talented at sports but usually it's like music, like creativity type stuff.
Yeah.
But it could be sports as well. So grandma, she's a big time melancholic. She's very talented in a lot of areas, but she could sing like an angel. She can,
Right.
She's not very good at sports.
Hey,
did I tell you about that story she told me? So, same thing. She was coaching 6th grade.
Yep.
And they were doing the relay. And she was like, dude, we finished. Like this, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like, she's like, we don't play around
Yeah.
here. You're going to, you're trying to win, blah, blah, blah. And the girl took the baton.
Yeah,
Her finger was sticking straight up. And she finished the race.
Yeah.
But that's, if you could teach somebody that mentality, they're going to win in life.
Absolutely.
She came in, her fingers like, it's like sticking up.
So let's say, you've done everything. You've questioned yourself.
Yeah.
You've talked to others.
Yeah.
You've taken these assessments.
Yes.
And you've come to the conclusion, I don't like myself.
Yeah.
I am an alcoholic. I am addicted to something, right?
Yeah.
Where do you go? What do you do?
Got to start going to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I listened to hundreds and thousands of sermon tapes.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I listened to hundreds and thousands of self-help tapes.
Okay.
I listened to, right? So go back to patterns of change. I was seeking out knowledge and I was applying these things. Vision board? Oh, I don't know who told me that. So I did that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that works pretty good. Right? So you just keep, you just start, learning.
Yeah.
Find a mentor, right?
Yeah.
Find somebody who's systemic.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it so much easier. Find, go to YouTube, go to Core, but don't be the knowledge monster. We used to have this thing when I was in the insurance business. We did a skit and we said, okay, and it won't be the great visual, but you'll get it. So we said, okay, you go stand over there and you get a book, right? And so you go, this person, you just go grab somebody, recruit them, right? And so this guy, we're going to give you another book. And we said, you two, you go over there and get 2 more. So by the end, if there was 100 people or 500 people in the room, there's one over here with 19,000 books called the Knowledge Monster. And this person over here had, 100 or 500 people on their team. And so, as you know, in the insurance business with spreads, overrides, whatever, you get 5 people on your team, you're making 30, 50,000 before you get out of bed.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the 500.
Right.
But people would watch the skit, and guess what they'd do? Freaking knowledge monster. Yeah, because they don't take the action.
Right.
You have to be able to, ultimately take action on the knowledge. And that's why people would go, oh, knowledge is everything. I said, no, it's not. It's the implementation of knowledge, what I call know-how.
Right.
Go get it done. And if that doesn't work out, then figure out why and pivot. When it does work out, celebrate, give yourself a Nick Xandas dance or, whatever.
Yeah. Now, they say change takes 21 days.
Yeah.
I think that when you have to change yourself, it probably takes a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
First, how tough is it to truly change yourself?
Let's ask you seriously right now. We'll put you on the spot. So I've been talking about me with weight loss, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting my butt kicked. So what's something you would want to change?
How well I take ownership.
Okay. And do you currently do anything about it on a regular basis?
I would say no, I don't on a regular basis.
Okay. And so what's the chances of you being successful in that?
0.
Right. Now, I want to be very clear to the audience. If you know you have a problem, hi, I'm an alcoholic, hi, I want to take ownership, and you just go, I'm not doing anything with that, right? I know I need to quit cussing. Mm-hmm. I choose not to do anything about it right this second.
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, it's not great, but okay. Mm-hmm. But just not knowing about it, or worse, being in denial. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you're in denial, then you got to uncover it. Then now we're back to square. Denial is like being in debt.
Yeah.
So then the question I would ask you is, well, how serious are you about taking ownership in things?
Well, I guess I'm not that serious because I had to think about it. So
well,
it sounds good.
Yeah. intentions,
Yeah.
right? So I tell people all the time, hey, congratulations, you have great intentions.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal. That's like having the knowledge but not
Yeah.
taking action. Intentions don't mean anything. It's the action.
Right.
And I loved it because with my, I learned a lot of things, as I was going. Because I think to be a great teacher, which I'm not saying that I am, but I think I'm a pretty good teacher, you have to be a great learner first.
Yeah.
And so I would learn along the way. So my 16 special day kids, man, we had to break it down to them, And we had to break it down, and we used to talk a lot about the mindset first, right? Because what trick have they not been taught by the time they're in 7th, 8th grade? How to read, chunk,
Yeah.
da-da-da. Well, how did they go up? They were all reading at a 1st grade level when I got them, most of them.
Yeah.
Well, how did they start reading at a 5th grade level in 2 years when everybody else got them in the first 6 or 7 years to a 1st grade level?
Yeah.
Because we talked about their mindset. Well, how do we do that? I went to the best looking girls in school. I mean, these kids were retarded or Down syndrome. I don't know what the politically correct term is, so I apologize. I'm a caveman. I don't get out much either. But, Down syndrome, right? They were, a lot of them were unkept. I mean, there's just problems there. And so now all of a sudden, you're walking around with the best looking girl in school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what happened? You get a little pep to your step.
Yeah.
Because even if you're not the sharpest tool in the shed, you figure out real fast she looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Or with the girls, I had them hang out, which was easy for me because I had all the jocks under lockdown, right? Because I was their coach.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm not doing that. I go, oh, really? Might want to right?
You know. Calling your mom or
yeah, I tell them just good luck to you on starting this year, right? They're like, come on, coach. I'm like, I'm kidding, but I'm not, right?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden they're hanging out with them, and then the kids that were the popular kids, they got to have some empathy and sympathy for it, right? So it worked both ways because usually, you think, oh, I'm doing this for them. You learn more.
Oh yeah.
As that. But I would say, so not only did you not have to think about it, but when I said, what are you doing about it? So forget about how long it takes you to think about it. It might take you ownership. Whether that's 3 minutes or, 300 years, that's not the question. The question is, are you taking action?
Right.
That's really what you are trying to figure out. And so remember back in the day when you'd be like, what is this guy, Nostradamus? Like, is he freaking Merlin or he's reading? Like, how did I know what you guys were doing before you did it? Mm-hmm. Well, because of all these little tricks that I had. Yeah. And it would just line up, right? It would make sense. And it's like I've said before, they go, well, God predestines. I'm like, really? I don't think so. He goes, well, they say, oh, they're crap. And I'm like, you know what? And I go through that. I said, does he have foreknowledge or did he predestine you to do that? Right? Just like we talked about the kid running the street. I know he's going out there. Yeah. I didn't predestine, well, maybe your brother, don't tell him, but not you, to run in the street, right? But I had the foreknowledge because there were certain indicators. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, if you have to think about it, that's an indicator that probably you're not on board with it. Right. If you're not doing anything about it, it's not an indicator, it's a fact. Right? And so I think that's another thing that the audience needs to understand. Intentions mean jack diddly piddly. Right? Can you jack diddly piddly? Is that possible?
I think so.
So, you have the greatest intentions, but that's why I like to put them in categories. Mm-hmm. And one of them isn't, I have an intent to do that. No, I should quit cussing, and I choose not to. Okay, that's my choice. I'm a grown folk. I can make a choice. I know I shouldn't overeat. I choose to overeat right now. Yeah. Okay, I shouldn't do that. That's only 2 problems I have. Other than that, I'm pretty perfect. God. Nick Anderson said that. But right, I mean, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So now we'll move into the holistic system. Yeah. So before we get started, will you, briefly, I know we've done a video on it, but briefly discuss that again to get everyone up to speed.
Sure. So we do all this know thyself, right? Let's say it's a 10-week, course or a 20-week training or what. It's just all different. You can modify. It's like an accordion. Yeah. Right. But so we do a lot around know thyself, and then we go right into it. We start systematizing how do you beat stuff. Okay. Right. And so with the holistic system, it's spiritual religion, it's family friends, it's health physical, it's personal social, and then it's career material.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the the broad strokes on that. Now, do you want me to touch the bases a little bit on each of those, or no?
No, because we'll do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the holistic system, and it gives you what I call, a firm frame or a lens or the piercing pupil. It gives you this, parameters. Like it's like the training wheels when you're first. By the way, did you teach your brother how to ride a bike? Really? That's a lie.
No. I'm embellishing, maybe.
No embellishment. It says
He can ride a tricycle.
That's not a bike.
I'm embellishing one more wheel.
No, 2 more wheels because you have to take them both off.
He can ride a tricycle.
I don't know that. I agree to disagree.
I agree to agree.
That'll go for 3 weeks. But anyway.
So for the holistic system.
Yeah.
Well, let's just start with spiritual religious.
Yeah.
Where do you have them start, or what do you have them do in spiritual religious?
So I talked to him about like a goal or an objective or whatever you want to call it. Like what would you like to accomplish? Mm-hmm. So it could be as big and as far off as I want to spend eternity in heaven.
Okay.
Okay, great. Or I want to build a relationship with, the Trinity or Jesus or whatever. Mm-hmm. I want to, whatever, I don't know, whatever they're going to say.
Yeah.
So I say, okay, that's kind of your goal. Now, what are the activities that you would need to do to achieve that goal, right? So you want a relationship with Jesus. Well, how do you build a relationship? We break that down 3 ways. Time, care, belief, right?
Yeah.
Spend time with them, believe in them, meaning that you're going to, I'm by your side, that, and then care about them means you get things done with them, not to enable, or get things done for them, not to enable, but to support.
Okay.
Right? So there, you got to watch that. So you say, okay, well, how would you do that? Well, how do you spend time with your girl? Well, you talk to her. Mm-hmm. We just call that prayer.
Right.
Right? You learn about her. Well, if he's not right here in front of you, or she's not right here, maybe you read her diary. Right. It's called the Bible. Yeah. Right? You go to church so that other people are giving their input. You go, I'm sure you talk to your girlfriend's mom.
Yeah.
Right? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you just figure out, like, what am I trying to accomplish? And what are the activities that would make sense to accomplish that? Got it.
Okay. And then what does it look like for family friends?
So with family friends, I break it down into technically I break it down into 9 sets.
Okay.
So with the family, I say there's, your immediate family, right? And then there's your extended, and then there's your expanded, or maybe I flip those 2. I don't know. Tomato, but conceptually it's the same with your family. And then with your friends, I just say it's kind of like primary, secondary, tertiary. And then I have the rest of everybody else, which would be like your acquaintances. And that could be your proximity friends or your coworkers or just people that like the mail guy or, something along those lines. And then again, same thing. What are you wanting to have happen? Well, I want, most people want a relationship with the people that they love. Okay. Well, I don't need a relationship with the mailman. My relationship is, hi and thank you. Right. That's as good as it gets. But maybe with, my son or my wife, it's going to be a lot more intimate, so to speak. Yeah. And so we do things called constant contact and different things. But in the end, it depends what you're trying to accomplish. Some people have told me, I just want to forgive my dad. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Right. What are the activities, towards forgiveness? Yeah. Writing the letter you never send, you stupid mother, blankety blank. Yeah. And you never sent it to me, right? There's all these different types of things that you're able to do to be able to get it out of you, the poison out of you, and ultimately leads to forgiveness, because if you're harboring that, it's hurting you, not them.
Right, absolutely. And then we get to health physical, and it's like, hey, there's nothing. I don't have anything. I feel perfect where I'm at, what I'm eating, how I'm eating, sleep. I just breaks it down as there's nothing for me.
Great. Let's move on to personal social.
Okay, so there's nothing.
Well, no, I'll work on them later. But remember, Rome isn't built overnight.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we think, well, we got to do something right now. So I've already played King and Queen of the World. I've already, in my mind, as you're telling me that, I'm going, I don't think you drink 100 ounces of water. I don't think you get 8 hours of sleep. I don't, right?
Right.
All these things that can help you.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to let it go right now. I'm like, oh, okay, great. But I'm going to come back and revisit that. I'm going to say, hey, it's been bothering me a little bit. And I just wanted to brainstorm with you and, see where you're at, why you think that or whatever. So you tell me or whatever. Maybe I do that right on the spot. But I mean, I have to cure it right now. I don't have to, stop everything all the time. It's like I tell people, a lot. I'm like, dude, I fired you freaking like 900 days ago.
Yeah.
It's not come to fruition yet. Or people go, oh, man, you always speak your mind. I said, would you like to look at my tongue? Because I've been biting that sucker so many times that I've wanted to say something to you. I have more freaking scars and stitches and everything else. So you don't want to go there with me. Right? You think if I told you everything that I thought about you in a negative way all the time, we'd both go kill ourselves, right? So, I try to tell them the positives and stuff and then try to get them to uncover like the onion some of the negatives, because again, who's in control? If I say you're a donkey,
right,
then what's happening? Ownership's on me. If you uncover that you're a donkey in the area of being a crappy father, now where's the ownership? Well, once you have ownership, then you have a chance to move.
Right.
No ownership, you don't believe in it, you're not the alcoholic, you're not even starting on patterns of change. Nothing happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Got it. And then we move into personal, social, and for me, let's say I want to be a scratch golfer. Yeah. And I'm a +4.
Yeah.
So where would
you'd go the other direction.
No.
So you'd be because a plus is actually means you're 4 strokes better than par.
Oh, okay.
I know you don't know a lot about that, but and that's fine. But I know what you're saying. So, the simple answer is go putt more and chip more, right? Because that's where the game's won or lost.
Yeah.
But what we would do is we'd have to uncover that. Mm-hmm. So I would start with you. Well, what's the best part of your game? What's something you think you could, we would go through all of this.
Yeah.
And then maybe in that case, I'd have to go watch you, right? I would want to watch so that I would be able to identify. But I already know what the issue is going to be, because the only way, because I was a scratch golfer, mm-hmm. right? And the only way that you get to where you're, in a plus situation, or in this case, if you're a 4 handicap and get to 0, you got to go chip. And bigger than that, anything within 50 yards of that green, you got to put within a circle.
Right.
And you know how I used to talk about, it was kind of the opposite. So I would never teach somebody to catch the football. I'd teach them to catch the tip.
Yeah.
But in golf, you go the other way. So if this is the hole, right? You tell people that shot before you put it in. Mm-hmm. You say, how big can I make that to where every time you get it in that range, that circular range, you're going to make it 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And they would say, 4 feet. So we'd put out balls at 4 feet, and we'd say chip it in there.
Right.
So now we know you're going to get up and down, which means you're not going to lose any strokes, because that's where people lose them. So in that case, that's a little bit on the physical end.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at that and to see that, so to speak. And I didn't even mean to embellish, and I embellished. I'm sorry, I was a 3. I didn't want to get to scratch because I didn't want to grind with chipping. Yeah. So I said that incorrectly, but yeah.
Got it. And then we'll move to career material.
I did shoot 68 one time. Actually, I shot the 60s a couple times. But anyway.
And then we'll move to the final one, which is career material. And so how would that look for someone?
Well, it depends. Again, what are you trying to accomplish, So we say career and material. So there's a lot of people out there, teachers that don't make a lot of money, that just love their job.
Yeah.
And they work 181 days a year, 185, I think, is what we used to work. And, they didn't do summer school. They got vacation.
Yeah.
And they love, that's where they're at. So on the material side of things, unless their parents were rich or something, or they had a side hustle.
Yeah.
They weren't able to afford the finer material things of life. So we say career. That's why we said it both ways. And so it depends what you're trying to accomplish there. Do you want to be, and there's plenty of jobs out there that have both.
Mm-hmm.
Being an entrepreneur has both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so today I'm doing this with you. I enjoy, we don't see each other all the time. At least once a week we do.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. I got to go see one of my old partners today after the dentist. I got to do that. I got to do different things. Now, most of the other days, I'm working 15 hours a day.
Right.
But on certain days, I'm like, well, my day's already cut up anyway. So, and a lot of the stuff that I do, I can't just do it like in an hour. It may take me 8 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why am I going to start on something to go fits and, start, so to speak.
Got it. Funny. And so now, with all these systems, and, we'll get into the individual system, but it, runs, you can run these simultaneously.
Oh, yeah.
You can run these and they hook together, like you said.
Yeah.
And,
not only can you should.
Should. Yeah, you should. You're right. And so is that why do you attest your success because you've been able to hook them together and so everyone can run them and they're so simple? Is that,
Yeah, so, if you want to talk about my success, but I think that question is better for other people's success.
Yeah.
Because, what happened is for me, because I had to hack everything. Mm-hmm. I learned to hack this, time hacks, this hack, sports hacks. I got to lift more than everybody else. Got to take protein. I had to do all these little hacks. Well, I didn't know they were called systems or processes. I didn't know any of that.
Right.
So then, but when I started helping others, I thought, man, I can help you one-on-one if I'm right there. Mm-hmm. But what about if I'm not right there?
Yeah. So
I was like, well, how will we do that? And that's when we started creating systems and different things of that nature. And yeah, I think it's absolutely, helped tens and tens and tens of thousands of people. And we already got the youth number.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing, and I'm serious about this, what about the ripples?
Yeah.
Right? So is there anything that I've taught you that you've taught Vivian?
I don't think so.
Really? You say no to her all the time?
No, I don't do that. I don't think I've really told her no ever.
So you redirect?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I taught you that.
Yeah.
Okay, now I could ask you 100 other questions that you don't even know you do, mm-hmm. that I taught you.
Right.
But now you're teaching Vivian. Mm-hmm. And if you're teaching Vivian, are you also teaching her mom?
Yeah.
Right. And if you're teaching her mom, could you be teaching grandma too if she's listening?
Yeah.
And then what about grandma's boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, dude.
Yeah.
There's like 5 generations down, mm-hmm. just from that one little thing.
Right.
Right. So you don't know it, but there's a lot of stuff that you do that, you don't even have a clue. Just like with me and my mom. Mm-hmm. She mentored. I do a lot of things that she does. I don't even know it, dude.
Right.
Right. And that's the beauty of a system. You have a system. Some things you've plugged into, some things you haven't.
Yeah.
Some things you bought into. Mm-hmm. Some things you do and you haven't bought into it.
Yeah.
And you'll still do it because it's part of the routine of the company, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, I think as you get older and your hemispheres connect, your brain hemisphere doesn't connect to like 28 or 30, I think you'll go on the ground for the ball in getting organized or taking ownership, whatever, because you want the ball.
Right.
Yeah, because you'll see that in a different way.
Yeah.
But the seeds are there, and that's why I always tell people with Christianity, maybe I'm the one that plants the seed. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm the one that waters the seed. Maybe I'm the one that keeps the weeds away from the seed. Maybe I'm the one that keeps the crows away from when it starts to grow.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm the one that I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I look at it and say, look, and I've told people this, go watch freaking Crash twice a year, the movie Crash. Everything's interconnected. So when they say, my favorite number, 6 degrees of separation, I make it 7. But 7 degrees of separation, they're not joking around by that.
Right, no.
Yeah.
And then we'll move into the individual system,
which
we've done a video on, but could you touch the bases on those as well?
Yeah, so shocker, it starts with mindset, and then you get organized around that mindset, and then you do the solution showcase, which is the easiest and the hardest. Yeah. It's the do piece, right? And then you go into collecting data around what's important to you, which should be surrounded by your mindset, and you're getting organized, and then the things you're doing to try to make those things happen. You collect the data, and then you thoughtfully advance.
Got it. And where and how does the individual system have to do with becoming an incredible individual?
Well, I mean, as a man thinketh, so he is. We used to talk about that book we read to you.
Yeah.
I think I can. The train going up the mountain.
Right.
I think I can. I think I can. And then it was what? I know I can. I know I can. And then there was what? I did.
Yeah.
I did. Right. So, when you talk about, because you asked that as a whole, right? Not
Yes.
just mindset. Yeah.
Right.
So just the mindset alone that says, I'm going to go on the ground for that basketball because I want the basketball. I've already eliminated 90% of the field.
Yeah.
Right. And not everything has to be competition, but my brain's like that because I'm a sports guy.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but I like the both end. You can win and I can win too. I love that. But I've already eliminated 90% of the competition. Well, what does that make you? That makes you in the top 10% on pretty much everything you do.
Yeah.
If your mindset's right about the dishes, I'm 90% better than everybody else who does dishes.
Yeah.
90% right. And so that was always my thing. Right. So when I was the dishwasher, my first real job, like where I think it was, where it was illegal.
Yeah.
I don't know how they sweatshop this when we were 8, 9, and 10, 3 paper rounds. That's the craziest freaking thing. Anyway, but my first legal job when I was 16, I was the dishwasher for 1 week. And then I became the bus guy because I cleaned the heck out of those dishes. I was like, right? And so then when I was the bus boy, I got more tips than the waiters and the waitresses. Why? Because I took better care of the people.
Yeah.
I was on it, dude. You didn't have to ask me for water, freaking shit. And most restaurants don't have as much stuff to deal with. So Mexican restaurant, you got the chips, you got cerveza, you got the salsa, and we had 2 different types of salsa. You got to go get their food. You got right? And so on Friday night, I was the only busboy, and on Friday nights, we had like 50 tables. You think there's 10 busboys in there? I didn't play around, right? And so what does that make me? Well, I'm 90% better than everybody else that's a busboy. Yeah. Now, in that case, I had some raw talent because I was quick and I was smart. So now I'm, probably in the top 5 percentile or 2 percentile.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So to me, when you have just the mindset piece of the individual system, you're already, just like the accountability formula. Right. You're 50% there already. Right. And then if you think about, your learning at the end, now you're 75% there. So I say, if that's at least 50, 60, 70, 80, whatever percent it is, so it may only be 50%, but it's 90% better than everybody else. Right. Now you get organized around that, which I know that you don't know exactly what I just said right there, because you must have a problem with O words, ownership. There you go. But if you get organized around that, now I'm ahead of 95% of the people. Right. Got it. I mean, think about what you did by doing those 2 things, even if you did them reluctantly.
Yeah.
Well, what are you? You're in the top 0.0001% of all decathletes. You're 3rd in the nation, dude. You're not the top 1%. You're the top 0.00, right? And what does that mean in real life? Well, I don't know. If you're the top and you're a quarterback, it's probably about $40 million a year. And, I'm not saying money's the end all be all. It's not for me. Right. But it's a measuring point. Yeah. Right? 37 million youth we've helped. Pretty good number. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So if you have this great mindset, you get organized around, then you go do it. This is where everybody gets all screwed up. Yeah. They go ready, set, ready, aim. On your marks, get set. Bump, set. Dude, you got to spike. You got to come out the block. All 4 points. You got to come out the blocks. You got to do. So it's the easiest thing. Just go do whatever you said you were going to do.
Right.
But it's the hardest.
Yeah.
Oh, because then the mindset creeps in. I'm not that good. I'm not as good as that trumpet player. I'm not. Screw all that.
Mm-hmm.
You be the best you.
Yeah.
It's good enough. You may not be the best. There ain't that many Michael Jordans out there, dude.
No.
Right? They're not. That's why they call them the GOATs.
No.
But you could be Michael Jordan's assistant.
Yeah.
You could be, you could score 20 a game. Pippen seemed to do pretty good with it.
You could be Snoop Dogg's joint roller for $50,000 a year.
Is that what he does?
He pays him $50,000 a year to roll joints.
Hey, you know what? I don't agree with it, but
I don't either. But hey, for $50,000, obviously he's got to be pretty good.
yeah, and it's legal now. So
And then,
my allergies are going on fire.
Yeah.
Man. I smoke some of that stuff. I'd be like, you think I sniff and snort and all that? Jeez.
So then let's move into collecting data. You talked about mindset, talked about getting organized. Oh, did you really talk about getting organized?
Not specifically.
Okay.
So what we do is we have a task and a to-do list.
Okay.
That's primarily that. But we have triggers,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of different things. But the primary thing is that I have my to-do list, what I need to do for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're trying to get to 100 million youth. We're trying to do this. We're trying to help business people. Trying to help parents. We're trying to, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I'll look out there and in the clouds.
Yeah.
It's fun to look at the penthouse, but then I go right back to the outhouse.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do today to accomplish that?
Yeah.
And so I write it down. I brainstorm it. I prioritize it. I go knock off as many as I can. Don't try to buff up on me, right? That's what I do. And then on my task list is I give you a to do, but I keep mine as a task list until it's off. So if I say, hey, you need to wear the freaking fake silk shirt to the interview,
Yes.
I mean, right? Then I would put that on the list and then check it off. I asked you to do my Spawn figure.
Yeah.
It was on my list.
Right.
And it was on my whiteboard too.
Yeah.
So, so not only do you have a list, if it's really important, put it on your whiteboard.
Yeah.
If it's really, really, really important, put it on one of those Post-its.
Yeah.
Right? And so whatever the case may be, these are what I call the triggers. The task list, the to-do list, the whiteboard, the Post-it, the ringtones, my wife, right? I say, honey, can you remind me at 3 I gotta take my pill? She's like, you're like a little child. I know, honey.
Yeah.
But she knows I get so focused, I won't even think about it.
Right.
I'm a freaking cobra on a mouse, baby.
Yeah. And then for when it comes to collecting data, how do you help someone to do that? Because that's something that not probably a lot of people do formally.
Yeah, or informally,
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Well, I just tell them, let's collect it on both, primarily the activity.
Okay.
Right? So when we talked about it, we said, okay, you want a relationship with Jesus.
Yep.
So what are the activities? Well, Bible study. Da, da, da. So then let's collect around that, right?
Okay.
So let's say, okay, first of all, I always look at it and say, did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And then how well did you do it, right? So if I go, hey, Lord Jesus, I love you, who cares?
No.
Why even bother doing it? But I can at least check off the box that I did it, right?
Yep.
So then, but I say, okay, so there's the effort,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's the performance, and then there's the checklist. So checklist that I do it, there's the effort behind it, and then how did it perform?
Okay.
Well, Jesus came and gave me a big hug. Okay, well, that's probably good. That
Yeah.
means your relationship's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Or I got a nugget in the Bible. Ooh, my wife just walked by. She looked pretty good. Now I'm going to be all distracted. I'm like, what's up, baby? But anyway, so that's kind of it. Checklist, and then the effort behind it, and then the performance level.
Yeah.
And some are, a little bit more difficult to collect data on than others. But usually, if you're looking at the activity,
Yeah.
and then what can I do better? What should I do the same because it's great? Or you kind of pivot or adjust, different things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, I say collect data on what makes sense on what you're trying to accomplish, or the activities to accomplish, or both hands.
Gotcha. And then moving into thoughtful advancement, which is probably the one that gets forgotten the most.
Yeah.
Because of celebrations, adjustments, and things like that.
Yeah.
I know that I don't do that, and you do everything but celebrate.
Yeah, and I do celebrate.
Yeah.
I don't celebrate as much as I should.
Yeah.
And especially when I'm in a big project, which we, have probably another 30 or 40 days, which, construction means 80 days. But yeah, I mean, I don't, but I do it. I mean, I eat popcorn and I shouldn't, but I like popcorn.
So then when it comes to having someone do it, are
Yeah.
you, I don't know what the word is, but do you not make them, but is it like, hey, I want you to do this at first to get to understand it, and then if 6 months down the road you don't do it anymore, it's not that big of a deal, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal because I think that if you're a type A, choleric,
Yeah.
north,
Yeah.
task oriented, whack job,
Mhm.
you're just like going to the next thing.
Right.
So, stop and smell the roses a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're not that person, then you're probably smelling the roses too much, but you may not be formally celebrating, right? So to speak. So either direction, let's make it formal, right?
Mhm.
It's so freaking funny to me. So let's take a look at that celebration thing real quick. So we collect the data and we decide that we like it.
Yep.
So we're going to celebrate, right? Well, I'll be damned. Oops, I'm not supposed to cuss. But I'll be damned if we don't have grown men celebrating like freaking they're a little kid when they make a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, getting paid millions and millions of dollars a year. And they're celebrating like little kids, right? Or on the other end, the little kids. They celebrate when they see an ant.
Yeah.
Well, either direction, good for you. Because life's not easy.
Right.
So let's celebrate, like the 35 to $40 million man who just scored a touchdown. Why would we not do that?
Right.
So whether you're a wacko or whether you're not, celebrate the good things you do. And I've told you that before. Have you tried it yet? Go count all the good things you do in a day. It's freaking nuts. There's a bunch. But we don't even think about it. So of course you're not going to celebrate a like because you don't know it's a like, because you're not paying attention, because you don't have a mindset, you're not getting organized. Of course you're not going to do that down here.
Right.
It's a flow, man.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, right, one thing I always say, if I can help one person doing one thing, celebrate at the end of the day. There's something you did that was great today or good, and I'll bet you there's several bunches of them.
Yeah.
But just, if you're a go-getter and you have 1,000 a day, don't do one for one. One popcorn per one that you do good. Yeah, because then you'll get one of these.
And then the final question is,
Yeah.
for the individual system, so becoming an incredible individual,
Yeah.
the holistic system, and individual system,
Yeah.
do you teach those simultaneously, or do you teach them, hey, let's become an incredible individual, then let's learn the holistic system, and then let's learn the...
Well, we technically say to be an incredible individual, you should know thyself, you should do the holistic system and the individual system.
Okay.
So we're saying to be an incredible individual, you should be doing all three of those things. And so we teach that simultaneously, kind of, meaning, right? So you can't. What do they say? You can't the elephant. You can't eat an elephant. But one bite at a time, or however that saying is. So the first couple weeks, because again, we can make this a 20-week course, a 20-week training, a 20-week gathering. We can make it a 10-week. If I only have a day with you, I would pick some of those things out of there.
Right.
Here are the top 10. So, it's like, like my collecting connects or my build figures. Yeah, I mean, I may talk about the head and the arms and not the body that go around for session 1.
Yeah.
But I may talk about the head, the body, the whatever for session 2. So it just depends. So they don't necessarily always happen simultaneously, although that's the perfect world. Mm-hmm. But they do happen with overlap. And in the end, you're going to get it all in the blender anyway, the smoothie. Becoming the incredible individual smoothie.
Yeah, got it. Well, as we're closing up, any final statements or anything you'd like to say before we go into bonus questions?
Just listen. I mean, if you take what we're doing, if you take 10, 20% of what we're doing, you're going to be a lot better situation than you are now.
Incredible individual.
Yeah, and no matter what. And if that... Just as an individual let alone as a specific whatever within that individual, meaning a better father, a better athlete, a better mother, a better businessman, a better entrepreneur, a better, right?
Yeah.
If you take these things that we're teaching you that are universal and like a transformer, you got to kind of put them in the right spot, but not really, right? I mean, eventually, like Legos, you can put them this way one time and do this way, but eventually it's the same types of Legos. This red Lego, that's the long one with the 8 little, things that come out. That's part of the mindset. The 2 little ones is part of the getting organized. The little itty bitty one, today it's part of thoughtful advancement. Tomorrow, the little itty bitty one is all the mindset time you have, So they're interchangeable situations. But if the viewers will take heed of them, and start to understand them and then do them, they're going to feel really good about it 21 days.
Yeah. Man. Well, thank you.
If you need to contact Brett or Coach, please do so on his social media accounts, email, and or text. You can find that information in the description below. Again, please like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit the notification bell. Thanks, and we hope you enjoyed.
What's up with that shirt?
This is my lucky shirt.
Is it silk?
I don't know.
Oh, it's fake silk. It's filk.